genocide, the starvation, the apartheid, all the many things that the Palestinian people have been victims of since the dawn of time is all over because some leaders of some countries are now pretending that there is a Palestinian state in Judea, Samaria, and the West Bank. Yeah, as a news report, that is at the level of something you'd hear from the Gaza Health Ministry. But something else that's interesting would be interesting if you believed that any so-called pro-Palestinian protesters, the movement around the world is actually pro-Palestinian, actually cares about anybody in Gaza or the West Bank. Um, is that we haven't seen any celebrations in London, in Sydney, in Toronto, in any of the major, in Lisbon, any of the major cities of the countries that yesterday recognized a Palestinian state. All those countries, all their major cities have seen protesters against so-called pro-Palestinian protests and protests against Israel since October 7th, but there were no celebrations. The last time these people celebrated was on October 7th when they saw live streams of Israelis being massacred. So, why is it that they're not celebrating? And what is it that they're kind of missing out on? I mean, they miss pretty much everything that is reality related, but some very specific things about the Middle East. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk more about the recognition of a so-called Palestinian state and uh, what is outside of the fantasies of anti-Israeli and likely anti-Semitic Western politicians, as opposed to what exists in reality in the Middle East. Welcome to the Daily Objective. I'm Razi Ginsburg. I'm joined by Daniel Kraus. Daniel,
So I was on the USSR subreddit, as one is, and I've seen like a poster or something, and it was like liberals oppose, what was it like, imperialism, and it had like Nazi flag and Soviet Union flag, but they do not oppose this imperialism, and it was like US, UK, whatever, like whatever these people think of imperialism, but there was also the UN flag there as an example of like West or liberal imperialism. And I found that pretty interesting. And I think this is some of what is happening here. It's the fact that these people fundamentally they do not care that much about the UN. As much as they don't care about international law, right? It's just a convenient way to bash Israel because now they can sort of use it against it, right? Like the ICJ, the ICC, people care about them, but like I feel like I've been in the news cycle for let's say actively 8 years or so. About I don't think I've ever seen anybody talk about ICJ or ICC before Israel came after October 7th, when Israel was the one being put on there, not Hamas being put on there for committing on October 7th, but Israel for responding. So this is like everything. It's just what is a convenient way to bash Israel. And the fact is, recognizing the Palestinian state doesn't really give them anything. Uh, I'm not sure if it will be positive for Israel either, but if I was to put myself in the shoe of pro-Hamas people, and I don't think I have to. I think I've heard somebody like Greta Thunberg talk about it, right? She was doing this like sarcastic. Oh, they recognize the Palestinian state now. All the problems will go away. And of course, her idea was like the West needs to do much more than just recognize it. So yeah, in a sense, this is not helping them at all. And this is the kind of thing you'll be getting from them because nothing will be good enough. Only destruction of the Israeli state will be when we're like, okay, now it's good. And you can do that with any topic, like take environmentalism for that matter. At what point do you think for environmentalists it will be okay to actually have a productive society? There is no point. There is no point where even when we reach carbon zero or something, it's not like we reach carbon zero and then they're like, okay, let's have laissez-faire capitalism, let's get the stock market going. No, they well, most likely society will collapse before we reach that. But that isn't the goal. The goal isn't to actually have a solution. The goal is always, in the case of Israel, the destruction of it. In case of environmentalism, the suppression of uh, productive West.
Yeah, it's like when people debate whether I know with intellectuals or aspiring intellectuals, they talk about is it better to be a generalist or a specialist? Greta was a generalist. She wanted us all dead. Now she's specializing on the Jews. That is her focus. But make no mistake about it, the pro-Palestine movement, including Greta, want more human suffering, more human death, and this move by the UK and others, as Israel, as the official statement by Israel put it, is a step towards that. Okay, let me get to the super chat and then we'll go to Jordan. Not physically because I don't think that's a good idea. But thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi Starmer does not speak for me. I do not recognize Palestine. I'm gonna go back to my point about the not my president, not my prime minister stuff. This is the prime minister of the UK, the elected prime minister, won by a landslide. This is the official policy of the UK. The UK has officially said to Hamas, thank you for October 7th and keep going. Do more of that. That is the only way this could be understood by anybody, and it has been understood by Hamas, who, of course, congratulated the UK for this decision, this post October 7th and during the October 7th war decision. So yeah, that is Britain's policy, and PC also says Starmer needs to resign. Why? I mean, he's in trouble in the polls, but th those polls don't actually matter. What matters is what people vote on election day, and they voted for Labor overwhelmingly. And I think more importantly, they voted out the conservatives who deserved to lose as badly or worse than they lost. And yeah, this is what we are stuck with likely for the next 4 years. And if his own party decides to get rid of him, whoever replaces him may or may not be better, but will be the prime minister of this country until the next election, which doesn't have to be for another 4 years. So yeah, we are stuck. This is and we deserve it. Um, Okay, Jordan. So Jordan is the majority of the population in Jordan is people who self-identify as Palestinian. Again, Palestinian is not really defined in any way as any clear uh, ethnicity, for lack of a better word, and there should be a better word because ethnicity is not a valid concept, as Ayn Rand points out in her essay Global Balkanization. But yeah, it's majority Palestinian. Let's start with that. And King Abdullah is the dictator of Jordan is not a Palestinian. He is in trouble. He's always in trouble. He like every dictator, he's always worried about what will happen if. And so he obviously needs to be very, very pro-Palestinian. And um, he was the one, I think, pushing the most in this summit of Arab leaders post Israel's attack in Qatar. He was the one pushing for some sort of real response. He is still making threats. A terrorist attack from Jordan happened last week in Israel, after which Israel said no more aid trucks for now from Jordan, because it was a driver of an aid truck going to Gaza who decided to do what Gazans actually want more than they actually want food, is dead Israelis, and he achieved that. So Jordan is a big, big problem for Israel. The line that some on the Israeli right have uh, have pushed for decades is that Jordan is the Palestinian state. That's it. That's they get that, and if they want, they can go there, and there will never be a Palestinian state in Gaza, Judea, and Samaria. For me, I think the important part is that. The important part is there will never ever be a Palestinian state in Gaza, Judea, and Samaria. What Arab dictators want to do with their dictatorships isn't really anybody's you know it's something to oppose at least formally, but it's not something to do anything about unless these countries are a threat. I do think Jordan is a threat, but I've spoken enough and I'm gonna go to you, Daniel, and I'll elaborate on that in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to we can go to history, right? Originally, after World War One, there was set up the mandate for Palestine and Transjordan. It was basically all of Israel, Judea, Samaria, Gaza, and what is now Jordan used to be in the same mandate. Then the Transjordan part got taken out and was basically given to the Hashemite dynasty, the same dynasty that is ruling until now. I think even with the same first name, I think it's still Abdullah. Although I think probably a different one after 100 years. And they've always had problems with Palestinians. It's you have this there is always this unique problem with Palestinians when, if you do not recognize their full rights, or sort of you do not put them on equal status, then they are revolting. And when you do give them full rights, they elect Muslim Brotherhood or some terrorist organization and take over. So, the king of Jordan is experiencing what Israel had always the problem with, is the fact that these people, and this is not racial, they do not have to do so, they choose to do so every day. They choose to support terrorist organization. So even in the most recent election there was in Jordan, Muslim Brotherhood was the number one winner because Palestinians largely support Muslim Brotherhood. So it's interesting how this is happening, yet nobody really talks about Jordan when it comes to oppression of Palestinians, right? Because either they are being oppressed in Jordan and everybody is ignoring it, or they are not being oppressed in Jordan, but wasn't the whole argument with Gaza and Judea and Samaria, or Palestinians in Judea and Samaria, that they support terrorist organization because they are oppressed? But if they have full rights in Jordan, why do they still support terrorist organization? Maybe it's not about the fact that they are oppressed. It's the fact about it's more of a that they do want religious dictatorship.
Yeah. By the way, generally speaking, nobody who cares about actual who is against actual oppression, pays any attention to the Middle East beyond, supporting Israel. There's a lot of first of all, there's the rest of the Middle East, but there's enough places in the world where people are oppressed that if you are against that, you will be against those people. But we know this about the pro-Palestinian side. They're pro-oppression, they're pro-killing children, but they have ultimately one goal, which is the death of the Jews, at least at the moment. Once that is achieved, it'll be on to the others. Thank you, PC, for another super chat. PC says his name is Keir Stalin. Um, uh, Thanks for the super chat. I look, he's not Stalin. Like I think we've gone over this. Stalin, had an ideology, an evil ideology, but he had certain ideas. Starmer's ideology is Keir Starmer should be prime minister. That's the extent of it, and he will do whatever it takes. So like I said, in last year's election, it was mostly the Conservatives losing rather than Labour winning. But Keir Starmer was good enough to kind of fit the role of who can replace them. But yeah, now Reform UK is doing well in the polls, so suddenly Keir Starmer is against against immigration. So he will be whatever he needs to be in order to win. I doubt it'll be enough next time around, but he has years to change things around. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super chat. PC says it was a joke. Yes, I got it, but I have no sense of humor, so I need to take it seriously and respond. Yeah, so with Jordan, so a few days ago we talked about Egypt, and we've talked about Egypt a few times. Egypt is a very serious threat to Israel, more serious than Jordan in some ways, less serious in others, by the way. But it is building. We talked about the military buildup in the Sinai. We talked about what the reason Egypt. Uh, we have people who say, look, Egypt isn't going to go to war with Israel because it's getting a ton of aid from the US because of the peace deal with Israel. Yes, but it's been getting that aid for 50 years. It's been building up its military. The only reason for Egypt to ever have a massive military is so that one day they can attack Israel successfully after multiple unsuccessful attempts. And Egypt's biggest fear, like every dictator, is his own people rising up. Now, we've seen what happens in the Arab world when people rise up. They rise up in places that are like Egypt today, that are dictatorships that are not theocratic enough. So Egypt during the so-called Arab Spring, as it was sold to us by Western media, uh, and sold as some sort of protests for democracy, and ended up being people demanding theocracy. There was a coup there, and the Muslim Brotherhood took over, and then there was another coup, and Sisi took over from the Muslim Brotherhood, but that is still a threat, and that threat will materialize if Gazans are moved into Egypt, and Egypt will absolutely go to war with Israel and put all the aid from the U.S. at risk, and the risk of whatever else might come with that war, if they know that there's a risk of the Muslim Brotherhood getting a million or so soldiers from Gaza. So with Jordan, they already have that. They already have. I don't know to what extent they have actual terrorists kind of festering and waiting for their moment, but they already have the issue of Palestinians who will demand some sort of action. They also have a massive, massive unprotected border with Israel, and it's a border that is an opportunity for those who want to do Israel harm. So I think Israel should take the danger from Jordan and the threat from Jordan very seriously. And when I say Egypt is a bigger threat because it has a stronger military and more of a military buildup right now, it's not either or. Remember, in past wars, they worked together to try to get rid of the Jewish state. And yeah, Daniel, they worked at the same time. Let's say if they didn't work together, they did it at the same time. That's a form of working together. You do the West, we'll do the East. In that sense, they work together, and there's no reason they wouldn't do that now. They would have the support of the world, so yeah, this is a real threat, and Israel should pay attention.
I don't know if I fully agree that if Jordan and Egypt attacked Israel, that the world would be behind those countries. I mean, I think fundamentally the leaders of both of those nations, El Sisi and Abdullah, they do not like Palestinians. They do not want to. Like the main reason Egypt is currently sending army to Sinai or to the border is they really do not want to get any Palestinian refugees into their land. They do not want more of them. So
This will be the reason they go to war with Israel, to prevent Palestinians crossing the border from Gaza into Sinai. I don't think they're going to go to war with Israel, just because. That's going to be the reason. They're afraid of what will happen when Palestinians flood Egypt and are immediate automatic recruits of the Muslim Brotherhood.
yeah, although I'm not sure how exactly even that would look like. It's like a super, and for that, even Israel would have to want to actually push out the Palestinians out of Gaza, which I don't think it ever showed any inclination to do so. If they ever try to do so, I think, well, that will be, I don't want to say interesting because that will be very uh, weird scenario in the way that I have no idea which way it would go. But just to finish my point, it's pretty much almost every single nation in the Middle East. They realistically do not want Palestinians to be an issue. They do not want them to stand up. Many of them do want to have nominally sort of friendly relationship, and I'm talking about the leadership, want to have nominally friendly relationship with Israel, but it's mainly the people who are sort of so much behind, and it's in the West, right? Like the people are behind Palestinians. On some level not understanding what it means, and on some level understanding what it means that being behind Palestinian people means the destruction of Israel, and some people simply do it from ignorance. But at the end of the day, support for Palestinians in the current sense, without any expectations, without any demands from them when it comes to the aid that is going to them, simply means more terrorism against Israel and more terrorism against surrounding states as well. Palestinians, just imagine Middle East without Palestinians and without Iran. What a world that could be.
Still a shithole, but less of a
Yeah, but
dangerous
less
shithole.
people blowing themselves up.
Yeah, less of a danger to others, but anyway, David says in the chat, Israel could flood the main part of Egypt. I mean, if you mean Israel can bomb the Aswan Dam, we talked about this as well. The Israelis keep saying that, Israeli leaders, that we can do it. Okay, yeah, of course you can do it. It's never going to be done by Israel ever. I don't believe that they're going to do that as part of a war. Um, Bonnie said something that I wanted to respond to. Oh, what country or countries does Netanyahu plan to hand over Gaza to?
Oh, I know the answer to that one. He said he wants to give it to an Arab country that would de-radicalize that would be able to de-radicalize the Palestinian people and re-educate into being friendly with the Jewish people. So that Arab country.
Yeah, an imaginary country. Yeah, but look, I'm still hoping. Look, Israel since 1967, there has been pressure to end the occupation and so on. When it comes to the West Bank, when it comes to Gaza, Israel hasn't done that in the West Bank, hasn't did that for no reason whatsoever in Gaza, and has paid the price. Hopefully, learned its lesson to some extent, as we keep pointing out on the show, nowhere near the extent that they should. But yeah, my you know semi-optimistic or let's say realistic hope, as opposed to what I would like to see, is that yeah, Israel keeps going for a while longer. The sanctions will be worse. Israel will be kicked out of Eurovision and sports and so on. Fully expect that to happen, if not immediately, then soon. Um, and at some point, Netanyahu will break and will decide to end military operations, probably with no return of the hostages. I hope I'm wrong about that. But yeah, eventually Israel can occupy Gaza and not have any serious long-term issues. The issues will be short-term, and then the world will come to live with it. And so I've said many times, and I'll keep saying on this show, I think what Israel should do is fight properly, uh, not put soldiers at risk to protect the lives of Gazans, so fight from the air. And if and when the Palestinians surrender, return the hostages, surrender, send over everybody who is Hamas, from the lowest operator to the head of whatever is the head of operations there right now, all of them dead. Once that is over, then the Palestinians can get a reward that they don't deserve in the form of deportation, and then Israel can just have Gaza to itself. And whenever people say it's time to end the occupation, bring back Palestinians, Israel can do the "thank you for your feedback, your opinion is very important to us" thing that it has done since 1967.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would finish that, yeah, Israel needs to do whatever is necessary. It cannot respond to violence with submission. Again, go into the past after even after 67. The Arabs in Israel proper already had full recognition of their rights. Palestinians in Judea and Samaria and Gaza were increasingly getting more and more sort of privileges despite being part of enemy population that has attacked it recently. And Palestinians said, not good enough. We'll take our chances and try to do a first intifada. And instead of Israel properly shutting it down, it eventually turned into the Oslo Accords, where Israel pushed back, or not didn't push back, pushed away, and basically gave in. And that's the reason why we are here today. With the problem is the fact that Israel didn't annex all of that much earlier, and still didn't, but it still needs to do so.
Um, Robert said, I went mad when activists tried to cancel a football match with an Israeli team in the Europa Cup in the near future. Uh, is that the basketball game that you're referring to in Murcia in Spain? I know there has been some stuff there, but I don't know. There's a few Israeli basketball teams playing in European competition. No, it's football, Robert says. So yeah, Maccabi Tel Aviv, the team I support and have spoken about, the experience I had last time I went to see them in Amsterdam last year. Uh, Oh, Aston Villa versus Maccabi. I didn't know that. So yeah, that is. I would be I would be surprised, pleasantly surprised, but surprised if that game is scheduled for November 5th or 6th. I'll be surprised if Israeli teams are still in European competitions by then. I did say a few months ago that I'll be surprised if Israeli teams are still in European competitions at the start of the season if the war continues. But yeah, Gaza operations are supposedly getting more intense as they should be, not as intense as they should be, but at least more than they previously were. And yeah, international pressure is piling up. I would love to be wrong about this. I think Maccabi has eight super interesting matches, and I hope to be able to see all of them. But yeah, that pressure will work. And look, Aston Villa plays in Birmingham, the jihad capital of the UK. So yeah, we will see. Parting thoughts, Daniel?
Already said down. Israel needs to do whatever is necessary to end this conflict without sacrificing its own soldiers, its own citizens, and yeah,
Akira says you guys should make an episode on Tucker Carlson's speech.
it's a
Okay
good
then.
idea.
Coming up on the reality show, Tucker Carlson's speech yesterday at the funeral of Charlie Kirk, and what that says about the fact that he was there, and what that whole event says about the conservative movement. That is coming up in a couple of minutes. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on the reality show.